This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Welcome back, everyone. It's something that we all deal with on a regular basis. Some of us are better at dealing with it. Then again, sometimes it can vary depending on your situation and also the time of year. We're talking about stress. And there is something that you can do to relieve tension, feel better when you're in stressful situations. And this is something that has been around for 150 plus years. I'm talking about the Alexander technique. And we've got somebody who has deep knowledge of that. It has helped his life move forward in many different ways. He's a neuromuscular and rehab specialist, and he is our professional of the year. Travis Chastain is back on the program. How are you doing today?
Steve, I'm great. How are you today? Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Hope you're doing great.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Fantastic. You know, thinking about what the goals are for a new year. One of those, honestly, for me, and I think many others, minimizing stress, especially coming after the holidays. I'm going to be honest, on Christmas Day, late in the day, mid-afternoon, I felt drained. I was just like, what is going on? I was like, oh, all the lead up and making sure things are right. And this one's got that present and everything's all good. Stress. I mean, this time of the year, certainly this technique is something that can help. I'm not even sure how to phrase that. Support those dealing with stress, minimize stress. How would you verbalize that? What the Alexander technique can do?
Yeah, I mean, manage stress, use stress as a way to empower you, right? FM Alexander, he always talked about this concept of stimuli as it's never having a neutral effect on us, right? It's either having a positive effect on the body and our coordination, or it's having a negative effect on the body and our coordination. And interestingly enough, when we bring that fact to conscious awareness, we can always move what stimuli is doing to us in our favor, right? In other words, we can use these stressors, jingle, season, all these things to actually empower us, improve our coordination, depending on how we're thinking and responding to stimuli of doing this and doing that. Right? The entire technique is predicated on stimuli response moment and teaching us how to stay regulated and empowered around stimuli.
So, would you do this to be proactive? Or if you're in a stressful situation, you can practice the Alexander technique?
You can do it in both ways. And in fact, I think that the technique is proactive. It's consciously trying to be proactive in every moment to moment to moment. Right? That's its attempt that, well, let's say, before you do this activity or before you finish this response to this question, recognize a key fact that you can pause, you can detach from the need to immediately respond. Because a lot of the times, the reason that we're feeling this stress or that stress, we're getting pulled in this direction, we're getting pulled in that direction. And a lot of times we've been being pulled in this direction, or we have been being pulled in that direction for a good long while before we feel the nervous system starting to complain to us, right? The technique is just bringing that to the forefront immediately. Before I finish speaking here, I'm going to take some time to detach and give myself a chance to just be neutral, slow down. Think about what is going on within me and then choose my response. Right? So there's a lot of conscious choice here. And I think that's what a lot of stress is, right? It's not so much that we're moving in this direction or this direction. We have this task or that task. It's rather that there's an acting and reacting going on underneath the surface that we're not consciously present to. And if we can bring ourselves into conscious awareness of that, well, then it kind of loses its grip on us a little bit.
Hmm.
It can be difficult at times because life comes at us fast, right? But yeah, that's always what the technique is aiming at is, okay, take a small stimuli and say no before you do it. Think of your free neck and see what happens. Take a slightly bigger stimuli, say no to it. Think of your free neck for a little bit and see what happens.
So can you take us through a situation? Let's say somebody is stressed out because they have to give a presentation at work.
Yeah.
Board of directors are in. They just flew in. It's going to be tomorrow. You planned, but you still have stress and anxiety about being on point, and you don't want to freeze up either. You're not used to delivering that kind of thing in front of the uppers in the organization. You're feeling it. You got anxiety. You got stress. How could this support somebody maybe in a situation like that?
Yeah, I like the word that you said, proactive there. In this context, I would say, you have this stressful situation. You have to be on point. You have this big thing coming up. Why don't you do an Alexander technique lie down the day before? You can imagine yourself being in the situation that you're going to be in.
Hmm.
You can feel in that moment what that's doing to your body for a second. And then you can start practicing the principles of the technique. Well, no, not yet. I don't need to respond just yet. No, not yet. Yes, I'm going to respond, possibly, but not yet. Right? So there's that practice of the principle of inhibition and awareness, where you're mentally recognizing the moment, and then you're mentally recognizing a fact. There's a choice to not respond immediately. There's something that's wonderful about that. I mean, the nervous system responds beautifully to it. When you just recognize before you act, you go to the stressful situation in your mind and you say the word no.
Hmm.
And then just listen to how your body is tight, what can let go, and you invite it to let go. You give encouragement to it, right? So now that stimuli is being introduced, and instead of it tightening the body, you're becoming aware of the tension and you're giving permission to release in response to that thing that you visualized. You can keep practicing that over and over and over again. And guess what? You come to the day, what you've ran is that stimuli is now a permission to be within your parasympathetic nervous system, to be easy, to be your true authentic self instead of this robot recording and answers that you need to make and statements that you have to do and impressions that you want to give. Well, if you are leaving yourself alone in the moment, those things are automatically going to happen. The right thing is going to go. The right thing is going to move. So the word proactive there, I think, is, you can train, you can be in that moment in the future, and then you can train your body to be open in response to it. That's a conscious act, though.
So I do this a lot. If I'm going somewhere, doesn't matter what it is, could be an event, networking, meeting, whatever it might be. I visualize myself being there. Who's going to be there? What are they going to be wearing? What might they be talking about? It's like I already did it. So I feel more comfortable. And it just prepares me. Like, let me think, what should I wear for that? What do I think others going to be wearing? And I have to tell you, a lot of times, either I manifested it or I just plugged into it, but I'm there and it's pretty accurate, but I'm more comfortable. Is that part of what we're talking about? Visualize being there, but then using the Alexander technique?
Yeah, being proactive around the fact that you're going to be bombarded by this stimuli, right? There's going to be these stresses. Now let's teach you how to organize those butterflies, right? You're nervous when you're present. It's no problem being nervous. Just get in touch with, what kind of tensions are running in your body while you're nervous. And let's teach you in that moment to let go of those things, right? So that that nervousness can be a powerful flow for you, flowing in a way
Hmm.
that's organized, right? You're not getting rid of the butterflies. You don't want to get rid of the butterflies. What you want to do is get them all in line, send them on their marching orders, and they're a very powerful ally for you to give that great presentation or that performance that you're looking to do. I mean, it really is as simple as this. Whether you're nervous, regardless of what you feel, if you're able to leave your neck alone in the moment, you're going to show up very powerfully and well. If you're not going to show up powerfully or well, right? And then you're going to feel that sense of stress and anxiety.
Well,
If you're,
I love what you're saying here, because it's not like we're just going to make it go away.
Mm-mm.
We're just the energy is the energy. Everything is energy.
Right.
Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, and you're turning it on its face, and you have the control over how that energy is going to impact you.
Quantum physics, you can't stop energy. You can't just, well, I'm going to take it and just
Yeah,
close it off. It has to take another shape and form. So,
right.
kind of sounds what we're doing using this technique, taking that energy, that the butterflies that you have, and then using it in a more proactive way, a more productive way. And even looking at athletes, they're nervous. They get butterflies before they go out on the field. There's
Yeah,
a lot going there. So they take that and they use that as their fuel to perform even better.
right. That which you push against gets stronger.
Mm.
Right. So if you're nervous and you're trying to fight the fact that you're nervous and you're trying to deny the fact that you're nervous, it just, the more you try to contain the energy, the bigger the monster becomes, right? But if you just notice it in a way, in a detached sort of way, right? Without the need to fix it, without the need to shift it, without the need to do anything other than acknowledge it.
Hmm.
I'm feeling this sense of nervousness, and my body's behaving this way right now in response to that stimuli. The stimuli is out there, and I'm responding to it this way. The stimuli is not going to go anywhere, but I can change how I'm responding to that stimuli. And I've already begun powerfully to move in that direction simply by listening, right? Acknowledging what that stimuli is, noticing the feeling in which I feel, and noticing the behavior within my body in response to that. Then I can work with that. That's something I have control over. I have control over that response. I don't have control over that external stimuli. I don't have control over that external person. I don't have control over anything other than how I'm going to give myself permission to be. And that's a work in progress every day, but that is what we have control over. And that's what we're focusing on with the technique, is recognizing what you do have control over, using that emotion as a powerful weapon to empower your body rather than to disempower your body.
Hmm. Is that essentially the principle behind the Alexander technique, where you're just looking at things in a different way, thinking in a different way to minimize the tension and the stress?
Yeah.
Hmm.
The technique always uses this word allow. Right? Allow your neck to be free. Allow your back to lengthen and widen, right? Which is the implication behind that is you're not trying to make these things happen. You're not trying to push flow here and push flow here. You're inviting flow by getting out of the way. And
Hmm.
you're recognizing when you're getting in the way. You're recognizing when you're trying to control things that you don't and can't and never will be able to control directly. Right? The external world you can't control directly, but I can control how I relate to the external world in some mysterious way that changes how the exterior world relates to me. That's in of itself is a mystery. The external is relating to me and I'm relating to it. Right? It's not really magic. It's just a recognition of what you do have control over and what you don't have control over. And if I can focus on what I do have control over and let go of everything that I can't, it's a lot easier.
Do you believe in the statement that we always have control over how we're going to react?
Yes.
So yeah, we don't have control over what somebody said or did, but we can control how we react to it, whether we get triggered by it, whether we just let it go, but ultimately we do have control over it.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. And we can have control over the postural network system just the same way. And, FM would call it an indirect control. There's no such thing as a direct control, even around myself. But if I just give myself this constant training to when a stimuli comes to not immediately grab at it and to say, no, maybe I'll grab at that, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll grab at this and maybe I won't. But before I do this or that, let's have a thought of what we want in my postural network system. If I think of that freedom in my neck, I will get some freedom in my neck because I asked it. I don't need to do it. Doing it gives me the opposite, actually. It gives me contraction. Inviting it gives me expansion. That's what FM Alexander noticed, is anytime he tried to control even his own body directly, the only thing that happened was he contracted, he stiffened on himself. But if he even tried to give up all of that and just, I observe these, I'm noticing these tensions, I'm not trying to do anything with these tensions, the tensions started to go away.
Is it the mind? Is this what we're doing? Is it just not minimizing just, but are we thinking what we want? I'm allowing my neck to be free.
Yeah.
I'm allowing it to be free. That's what I'm thinking. I don't have to move it like this to know, oh, it's free. Maybe it's not yet, but thinking it, I'm allowing my neck to be free. Is that kind of the starting point for the technique?
Yeah. Yeah. That tension in the neck and relieving it is the first process to getting the back to respond in a positive way. Right? Everything works from the top down, right? And that neck to your brain is that first interrelationship to the rest of your body. It's the first connection point, right? So if you can open things up here and get the head in the proper place, that gets a stretch reflex going in the body. The back can open. And it's interesting, if your body is released and your body is open, you're far more capable of receiving stimuli in a powerful way because you are powerful in your posture, in your body network. If I'm really easy and open and upright in my body, I'm walking home. This is a true story. And a tire explodes right next to me. It barely does anything to me. There's hardly any startle response at all. But if I'm tight, I'm contracted, I'm small in my body, my mind's already, it can't disassociate those things. Your mind is registering that. It's registering you're in a weaker position.
Yep.
And everything is kind of like the rabbit instead of the lion, right? You're just looking for the danger, and I got to run, I got to go, right? So,
It's almost the same as when somebody is a little more tense, and they're just having a conversation, and their cell phone rings. Whoa, 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 whoa! They weren't expecting it. Whereby maybe the rest of us were in a more calm state. Oh, phone ring. Let me get that. But it surprises somebody else, the ringer, or if it's not their own phone, it's somebody else's phone. Now it's a different ringtone where they may get startled for a second because they're already in a, I don't say fight or flight mode, but maybe that's partially it.
Yeah, or at least it's the preamble to a fight or flight mode, right? They're in
Yes.
that small, they're on that small space, right? And
Yep.
I like what you said, you took the example of just a phone ring, right? I mean, you could take any kind of example.
Sure.
If you're open and easy and the dog runs up suddenly and drops the ball down the stairs to you, and you're easy and you just see the ball and you grab it. But if you're tight and you've already been reacting, let's say for a minute here, 10 minutes before this ball fell, and then you react here and you react here and you react here, and then that same ball falls, you feel like you have to scramble so much harder to catch the ball. There's a very palpable difference on the quality in which you're going to give to catching that ball. Right? Simply because one is in the sympathetic nervous system and one is in the parasympathetic nervous system, where
Can you tell us the
everything's
difference between both?
yeah. The sympathetic is that space where you're a little bit more in the fight or flight mode. You're more into the acting and reacting, doing. You're in a bit more of a survival mode and a survival instinct, right? Parasympathetic is the space where you believe that you're in a safe zone to explore. You know, I heard Jocko Willink, of all people, talking about this in the SEALs, right? Is this necessity to detach, because he was expressing the story. One of the special forces men in his command, he was out there trying to give a rescue operation. He had to return fire, and he kept missing.
Mm.
He remembered to detach from the outcome of trying to do, breathed a little bit, moved himself essentially from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic, could fire, and he could hit his target, right? So that's
Yep.
an example of it, right? It's the effect of the sympathetic. If you've ever felt really jargoned and, just shaken up, and where simple tasks suddenly feel difficult, that's an example of being really, really in the sympathetic nervous system. The opposite, if you're in the deep sense of the parasympathetic, have you ever had those senses where things are flowing very easily in you, and time seems to move slower? Like Peyton Manning used to say, this is a great example of moving in the parasympathetic. When you're really in a deep state of flow, all these players are running around you trying to tackle you, but you see them and it's like they're moving so slowly.
Mm.
Right? That space is where your faster parts of your brain are turned on, and the slower reactive parts of your brain are turned off, and you just kind of move like a machine from that space in an effortless, graceful way. And he expressed it as, well, things are moving so slowly in that space. A little bit like, well, the final scene of The Matrix, right? When he comes back, he's like, "Ugh, I see Smith trying to attack me, and it's suddenly so clear and so easy to defend." That's what flow state looks like. That's what being in your parasympathetic in a deep space looks like, it feels like. It's not only very therapeutic and healing, but
Many of us wouldn't
life.
even know what that feels like, unfortunately, the way life is. Uh, we're just about out of time, got like a minute or so.
Yeah,
And I would just
yeah,
want to get to an email that came in from the last time we got together,
yeah.
instantfeedbacksteve@gmail.com. Lisa in Albany says, can this modality be used to support seniors? My dad is 86 and had hip surgery a few years back and has some limited mobility and is uncomfortable at times.
This is a great question. I'm going to go get a quote real quick that answers her question real quick. Give me one
Absolutely.
sec.
Sure.
Yeah. Because absolutely, the technique is in many ways geared most powerfully towards the elderly.
Hmm.
Right? And let me just read one of the elder teachers. He can respond to that question better than I ever could. So I'll just read what he had to say about this. Okay. The physical demands that you have taken for granted do become more difficult as you get older. And that is where you really need all the help you can get. Alexander help is particularly appreciated here. In fact, old age really is the testing time for the point of the view of the technique. Because it's this technique that really, really powerfully teaches you how to use your mind to move your muscle in a very powerful way.
Hmm.
So
Say that
yes,
last part again. I want us to process that.
of this quote, you mean?
No, that last thing you just said, that in terms of your mind and muscle.
Yeah, the Alexander technique really teaches you how to use your mind to move your muscle in a very powerful way, right? To get out of those obstacles that we feel in our bodies, right? And it really just comes down to switch your attention, think of yourself holistically when you move, notice the behavior of the body in the moment, address the things that seem too tight the next try, rinse, wash, and repeat, see how it goes. You do that and you keep doing that, that tension will melt away like butter. It always does.
So what I'm getting here is be intentional about your movement.
Yeah.
And you really can't do that unless you're armed with some skills or tools.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. We have to listen. We have to listen to the body and you have to detach. You have to detach from the outcome because that's where you get to be safe to explore different. You have to move differently. The evidence of that is that you're in pain, but we don't know how to start. Well, you have to give yourself permission to be wrong. That's a good starting point. You have to give yourself permission to listen to, what's going on and listen to the quality of your thoughts for that matter while you're doing it, and to give yourself permission to make changes in small ways.
Hmm. Yeah, I see this in a different light. We talked about this before. Now it's coming clearer. It truly is coming clearer in terms of the intentionality, the movement, getting into that parasympathetic state where we want to be. Um, and taking that energy, which is troubling you, the anxiety, the stress, and reshaping it in a different form where you can deal with it, where you can work with it to your advantage. Make it a plus instead of a negative.
That's all it is. It's just really redirecting it and recognizing that you do have the power to redirect it, right?
Mm.
It's just a matter of listening and noticing, well, what way of how am I thinking here? And bringing that A to B causation. Like I thought this way and this is what happened in my body. I'm going to try to think this way and see what happens in my body. I'm thinking of the end goal and this is what happens in my body. My body shrinks and stiffens. I think of how I'm using myself in the pursuit, and this is what happens. FM always used to say, I don't want you to give a darn about doing it right because you're just going to stiffen and close up into your habits when we start trying to be right. There's no safety to explore in that framework, and we need to have the safety to explore.
Mm.
Do it wrong, man. Do it wrong while you thought of your free neck.
Well, it takes the
Right?
pressure off of you, thinking that, well,
Yeah.
I can't move a certain way, and it's always going to be that way. No, it's okay. You can move
Yeah.
wrong, but it does start with the mind.
Yeah.
And
Just take a
and
break before you begin. Just take a break before you begin.
yeah,
Let's see what happens.
but you're not lost. Many people
Yeah.
dealing with not minimizing anything but stress, anxiety, all of that feel like, this is just nothing's going to work. I have friends that say that. I'm on 3 different medications. Nothing. This is the way it's always going to be. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm not saying there's not a place for medication, but maybe you could take 2 instead of 3 and employ a technique like this to help you get closer to your goal, less stress, mobility, and all of that. Travis, best way to find you? I know you can work with people virtually anywhere. How do we do that?
Find me at my website, www.bodymindbalanceco.com. I look forward to answering questions that you have.
And this is not something that either of us just made up on a whim. It's been around. There's a reason. There's a reason we're still talking about it 150 plus years later, because it works and it reframes the way we think about mobility, stress, and all of that. Thank you for being here again today, Travis. Happy New Year, too.
Happy New Year, Steve. Go get some chocolate and some wine and have a good time, my friend.
Got another couple of days left, and then it's a fresh start. It's a fresh start. Yeah.
Awesome,
Yeah. The chocolate and the wine actually sounds really good.
I know. I'm gonna get myself some chocolate after this. That's gonna be very exciting.
It's sitting on the counter at home. Actually, somebody made it. You ever see the dark chocolate?
Oh yeah.
Oh, so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
All right. We'll catch up soon. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.